Yo, we'll get started here in just a little bit, y'all. Live with Johnny. We got some stuff to talk about. Let's go. All right, y'all. Welcome to the show. My name is Johnny, and this is the Johnny Live. Y'all, what the? I don't even want to like to use cuss words, but what the hell is going on? We got bridges collapsing. This is crazy, y'all. So yesterday, if you haven't heard, a bridge in Maryland collapsed. Crazy, right? So apparently it was a ship, a cargo ship that hit it. Hit one end of the bridge and the whole bridge collapsed. Now, I was watching the video. You can clearly see that it was cars on the bridge. So, just recent update, they believe that these people didn't make it. In fact, the water was so cold that they maybe only had an hour in that water. And that was this morning or last night. So y'all, it's not looking good at all. 6 people gone. What happened, y'all? What went down? What went wrong? I know we had some bridges collapse a couple of years ago. And someone said in America, bridges shouldn't be falling down. The structure should be way more powerful than that. There's no way that bridges should be falling down under any circumstances. But that's exactly what happened. Crazy, right? And I know people talking about it everywhere. Makes me almost scared to want to go on a bridge. Especially a bridge of that magnitude. So what we're gonna do, y'all, is we're gonna watch this video. I want y'all to take a look at the bridge and the collapse, and then we'll come back and talk about it a little bit. We're on 3 different platforms. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and X, formerly known as Twitter. So if you're on Facebook, make sure you're commenting. Make sure you're sharing it. Let's get this word out there. Let's talk about it, y'all. If you are on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Push that like button, that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. And if you're on X, Twitter, you already know what to do. And actually, X and Twitter is one of our biggest followers. So we want to give a shout out to X and Twitter because they definitely been in. But again, if you're on Facebook, make sure that you are liking this page. I get my local subscribers up so we can make this bigger locally here in my own home city. But tell me what y'all think, y'all. What y'all think about this bridge collapsing? I almost thought for a moment, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I almost thought for a moment that it might have been done deliberately. Now, I don't want to get into that wholeheartedly, but you have to admit that this is kind of crazy. So I'm gonna start this video, y'all, and I want y'all to tell me what y'all think. Tap in. We got X tapping in. We need Facebook tapping in too as well.
It was a commuter's worst nightmare. A major interstate bridge.
As a matter of fact, before we go into the new bridge collapse, we're gonna go into a bridge collapse a couple of years back, and then we're gonna talk about that as well. So check this out, y'all. Bridges collapsing in America.
Collapsed during rush hour.
One of the main iconic bridges in the Twin Cities has collapsed.
The entire bridge is in the water. 35W bridge is in the water.
Leaving dozens of cars and trucks trapped in the wreckage.
The flames are very close to that school bus. There are cars on fire right now.
Children were running away from this, just horrified.
And sending others plunging into the Mississippi River.
This is really awful. It's the most awful thing I've ever seen.
I just couldn't believe anything like that could ever happen.
As investigators combed through the rubble, the collapse sounded an alarm.
Are the bridges we drive over every day really safe?
A bridge in America just shouldn't fall down.
The collapse led to promises to fix decaying bridges across the country. But how much progress has been made?
When a bridge falls,
It was a hot Wednesday evening in Minneapolis, the height of rush hour. Construction crews were resurfacing the 40-year-old I-35W bridge when, at 6:05 p.m., it began to shake.
I heard a beam snap. I heard a clank, just a loud clank, and
that's
I was
gotta be the
falling.
scariest.
I remember just grabbing the steering wheel and thinking, ride it out, ride it out, ride it out, not knowing how far I was going to fall.
It was a 10-story drop. Garrett Ebling's car fell head-on into concrete. Lindsay Walls found herself underwater, out of air, trapped inside her car.
I knew that there would be no one else there to, save me. I started to think about my family and hope that they would know that I was thinking about them.
There's hundreds of cars in the river. Bring everything you got. I think there could be people trapped in cars is what I'm really worried about.
Walls somehow
That's
made it
crazy.
to the
That's
surface,
scary.
where she waited
That's
for
scary,
help.
I remember just saying over and over again, I don't know how I got out of my car. I don't know how I got out of my car. And it was just like on repeat.
They came up to my car, they found me, the water was up to my shoulder level, mouth covered in blood. It was unlikely that I was going to make it through that night.
At the hospital, doctors said they had never seen anything like Ebling.
I broke both my ankles, I broke my left arm, severed the colon, ruptured diaphragm, collapsed lung, broke my jaw in 3 places. My mom said the only way that she could recognize me was by my feet.
190 people were on the bridge when it collapsed. By nightfall, 13 were dead.
Looks like the scene at the bridge, from the information we have, is largely a recovery operation at this time.
With bodies still in the water, questions were being raised as to who was responsible.
Obviously, this is a catastrophe of historic proportions for Minnesota.
The media began to scrutinize the bridge and how well Minnesota's transportation department maintained it.
It's obvious there were troubling safety questions about this bridge years before the collapse.
Annual inspections had noted assorted cracks, corrosion, and fatigue.
So why was the state of Minnesota all the way up to the governor's office telling us this bridge was safe?
Under criticism, Governor Tim Pawlenty defended his record.
There were problems with the bridge, but not a recommendation to immediately close it. Again, just because it falls in this category doesn't necessarily mean that it's unsafe. We have to let the investigation and review process work.
Investigators from the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, arrived within 24 hours to figure out what went wrong.
Officials are looking at everything, from the weight of construction equipment on the bridge to traffic patterns, vibrations, the weather, even the kind of solvent used to melt the ice and snow in the winter.
Anything is possible.
Look at that, y'all. That's
and
crazy.
We will not rule anything out. We will not rule anything out.
Investigators soon began to rule something in. Nearly 300 tons of construction materials had been placed on the bridge, right over a flaw in the bridge's design.
The NTSB today said a design mistake involving 16 separate plates from the center span was what they called the critical factor in that deadly accident.
The steel connectors known as gusset plates were simply too thin.
A half-inch thick when they should have been twice that. Instead of being the strongest parts of the bridge, they were some of the weakest.
The NTSB's conclusion meant that a mistake made 40 years earlier had brought the bridge down, and the flaw went undetected because it wasn't standard practice for inspectors to later look for such design errors.
When you've got a gusset plate that should have been an inch thick and it's only a half, that's going to be a problem.
Tom Johnson says the accident, while determined to have been caused by the design flaw, also brought attention to a bridge that inspectors had rated in poor condition for 17 consecutive years.
You don't get rated in poor condition for lack of paint. There's serious problems with it.
Among other things, past inspections showed a corroded roller bearing wasn't moving the way it was supposed to. The NTSB said it wasn't a factor in the collapse, but an engineer hired by survivors suing 2 bridge contractors says it was a problem that should have been fixed.
When steel heats up, it wants to expand. So if the roller bearings are seized and the bridge can't expand, then the loads get worse and worse until finally it's at the point where it's just ready to pop.
Inspectors also noted these gusset plates had bowed from stress, but missed the significance.
There were opportunities to fix the roller bearings. There were opportunities to find the design error with the gusset plates and to retrofit them. Those opportunities were missed.
Guidelines have since been issued to better detect problems with gusset plates and bridge design. But an investigation by the Minnesota legislature sought to find out why the bridge hadn't been reinforced, given its history.
Lack of management and lack of identifying of red flags has darn near brought this department down.
The legislature found that at the time of the collapse, the state's transportation department was underfunded and overworked, and had to prioritize which bridges to address first.
We came away from our investigation that these are professionals trying to do their job, but they had some very severe restrictions about what they could do, largely because of lack of money.
State officials referred to bridges like the 35W as budget busters.
There's a tension between...
We're going to stop there, y'all, with that one, but that's crazy, y'all. Like, we got bridges in America that are not being inspected properly, really due to money. You got lives on the line. You got people going back and forth over these bridges on a daily commute. And these should be 100% tip-top shape, and they're not. Now, the collapse yesterday in Maryland was due to cargo ship hitting it. So that kind of blew my mind, but did you see the way that it fell down? It collapsed. It's like one by one. There was no chance of anybody on that bridge being able to get off in time, the way that bridge came down. And I looked at it from inside the bridge, and it almost looked like it was an explosion. So that had me to question, was this deliberate or was it an accident? We still need to get some information on whether it was a deliberate or accident. And it seems like they're kind of slow to bring that information out 100%. They did say that it was an accident, but it's not definite right now. And that's the answer that I'm looking at. Who was driving that cargo ship? What happened? Why were they not able to get past that bridge without knocking it down? Like, you rarely ever, you don't hear about nothing like that. So when something like that happens, me personally, I want to know everything, because anytime you go out of town to a big city, big state, whatever, you got to go across some type of bridge to get to the other side. And so we need to know what exactly happened and hopefully try to fix it so these things don't happen again. Like I said before, you got 6 people that are missing, presumed to be dead. So just like myself, other people have questions, and those questions need to be answered. Now we're going to take a look at the Maryland Bridge collapse. I believe I have video here. We're going to take a look at this video here, y'all. Y'all got to see this. Then we'll come back and talk about it. Once again, if you were on
Governor
Facebook,
Wes
make sure you share
Moore
it.
to ask about the families of the missing and the survivors. And what do we know about the victims' families? How are they doing?
I had the chance to spend time with the victims' families, and they're distraught and they're heartbroken. But I tell you, the hopefulness that they have. These are very prayerful families, and I had a chance to pray with them and pray for them. They define what it means to be Maryland tough and to be Baltimore strong.
2 people were miraculously rescued. What do we know about the survivors?
So there are 2 people that we know of. One who's actually in shock trauma right now. And so we have a remarkable shock trauma unit here in the city of Baltimore, and they're actively working on one individual and another individual who was actually the leader of that group, who watched it all take place. And I had a chance to spend time with him, and literally he tells a story where he was actually walking away from the bridge when the bridge began to collapse. And so he's watching what happened to him, and even as he said that was all God's grace.
That's incredible. So essentially, he barely escaped.
He barely escaped. I mean, this was an absolutely catastrophic event.
And Governor, I know.
So that man was actually walking away from the bridge, walking off the bridge when it started to collapse.
So many people depend on this bridge to get to work. How quickly can this bridge be rebuilt?
This is going to be of a top priority for us to make sure that we can get this bridge built back up.
That's crazy, and that's scary to try to build the bridge back fast and quick. Like, I think to have it solid should be the top #1 priority. But as you can clearly see, it's a needed bridge for transporting people back and forth to work. So something's going to have to be put back in place ASAP. So you start to wonder, is it going to be put up the correct way this time? Yeah, this is crazy. We got infrastructure falling here in America. That's something we definitely have to look at. Congress got to look at to try to see if we can get these infrastructures up to par. No matter how much money it's going to cost, this is something that should be top priority and done ASAP. So we're going to end with that, y'all. We're going to pick it up here a little bit later. So we got some things going on here in the studio. So we're going to pick this up a little bit later. Make sure that if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, or if you're on X, Twitter, make sure y'all sharing this. As soon as we get some more information, we'll come back and talk to y'all a little bit more. But thank y'all for watching. My name is Johnny, and this is Live with Johnny. So we're going to be out, y'all.